Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Retro Life for You, movies of the 80s and 90s. Chris Adams, host of the show, and as always, with us off to my right here, or I guess this would be my left on screen, Travis
Left,
Rollins.
right, never the master.
Left, right, left,
Jack,
right. It's all the
I'm jack
same.
of all. I'm jack of all trades, master of none.
Of none, exactly. How you doing, Travis?
I'm great tonight, man. Especially with the weekend I've had helping Tasha. We're on the verge of opening up the Upstate Autism Carolina uh, thing that she's building. So we've been doing that this weekend. And then go ahead and spill the beans because I can't help myself. We got a wonderful guest tonight. So yeah, and we're celebrating an anniversary of a classic. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm
So we'll
excited,
go
man.
ahead and not beat around the bush here. Just bring him on in with us. And welcome to the podcast, Glen
Well,
Eaton.
there he is. Y'all may not recognize him as Glen Eaton, and we've aged 5 or 10 years around here, but
It's it's been 5 or 10 years. Yes.
yeah.
Um. So I was just noticing. I didn't even realize this at
Well, I
first
was
when I
gonna
reached
say
out.
is Johnny. They would recognize him as Johnny.
Johnny U. Johnny U. I didn't realize this at first, Glenn. When I asked you to come on, I really wasn't paying attention. But it's the 40th anniversary
Right.
of the Last Dragon.
Yep, that's what
About a
it
week
is.
off, I guess. I believe it is, but a week or so off. But that's
Uh-huh.
pretty cool. That was your debut movie, right?
Yes, it was. It was.
Heck
All right.
yeah.
And
So before we get into that, because I know that's the one that everybody, I went through too and watched a few interviews too. We hate to ask, or I'm sorry, not we hate to ask, but we try to ask new questions and kind of dig in a little deeper than what people are really used to as well. And I know that the Last Dragon is a big one. But now Chris and I were just talking when we were prepping for this about 30 minutes ago that you have a movie that now we went and watched the commercial for or trailer for on YouTube. We are dying to see it. We would want to watch this whether we were having you guest host tonight or not. We just want to see it now, called Train to Kill in 1989. And we can't find this anywhere to stream. Like we're dying to see this movie now. So I want to ask a little bit about that one.
Uh-huh. Okay. Or would you
Or
like
if you know where we got to watch it.
um well, Train to Kill is it's a B movie action of the 80s type, and it was basically if I can think of an interesting story, uh I wanted to have 3 days like Stallone and then write a script. So I told my girlfriend if she could stay at her mom's for 3 days. And I just stayed up, drank coffee, wrote a script. I thought it was brilliant. And then when I read it to her and her brother, they thought it was ridiculous. They, they thought they didn't laugh. They were just sitting there looking at me like they didn't know what it was about. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
And I said, you don't get it? I said, God, I worked so hard. I said, damn it. So, anyways, I was a little disappointed because I thought, oh shit, it sucks. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I, it's okay. And then I got a phone call from a producer who contacted me a year before, and he liked me in The Last Dragon, wanted to do a picture, and he called me the next day, and he said, Glenn, he said, I'm going to go talk to the money people to try to get backup for a film. And he said, the only problem is I don't have a script. He said, will you happen to have a script lying around? And I said, I just finished one. He says, great. How many pages? I said, 115. Perfect. What's it about?
Nice.
I said, it's about this guy, revenge, you know. He goes, that's all I need to know. They're not even going to read it. They just want to see, they just want to see that I have one. I'm going to tell them what it's about, and we'll see where it goes from there. It's like, okay. So he picked it up. He called me an hour later, says, okay, we sold it. So I took the script, threw it away. They had a writer rewrite it, and we did the picture a few months later. But so it basically started just because I wrote a lousy script. What was and he called me when I finished it. So it's like
That's
timing.
like that's yeah. That's
And,
what is it? That's kismet.
and if they would have read it, they wouldn't have bought it. You see,
Oh,
so it was the perfect gig for my lousy script to get sold.
Wow.
oh man,
Isn't that weird?
that's so awesome. Did they at least keep it based around the idea of what your script was?
Yeah, basically around the idea. So my idea was it was going to be a slapstick martial arts comedy,
Okay,
ridiculous. You know what I mean? And try
we
to go
love
all.
those.
But this guy feels like he can do anything, right? Almost
Hmm.
as stupid as like in the scene in Way of the Dragon when Bruce Lee's demonstrating to the waiters his sidekick or something. Boom,
Hmm.
Mine was so silly. Mine was I fly up in the air to demonstrate a high kick. All of a sudden, the father comes in. Hey guys, it's time to eat. I'm frozen in the air, saying, "Oh, okay," and I fall down. That's how ridiculous.
But that's so good. We love that kind of stuff. Little Bruce with some seven deadlies of venoms on it.
I take a guy to party with a pad, and he goes flying right. So I go two guys. Let's try two guys. I kick two guys. And then it cuts back in the scene in the house, and they're talking. You see how they're doing at the party. By this time, I got about 10 guys behind the thing, and I'm it all goes all. One of those ridiculous.
That's so awesome. It sounds like it would be it would be one of the parents to something like a Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah,
Oh,
We
Kung
weren't
Fu
ready.
Hustle.
We just weren't ready for that yet.
no, no, thank God. But
he said, he said, "Thank God."
so it's now
Well,
it's in.
yeah,
Hey,
we did a diligent search trying to figure out where to watch it. And I guess maybe because it released in what, Germany and Turkey. It was like out for a few years
Yeah,
before it.
overseas.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it didn't have a theatrical release here in the States, I mean.
No, no, they
Or
didn't.
okay.
No.
Well, we're dying to find it, and we're going to send you an email when we do, because I'm dying to watch that one. Chris and I are just super fans of old '80s action, B, C. It doesn't matter. We're going to watch it.
yeah, that's
Just
that's
yeah,
about right.
just like I'm a fan of the. I used to like the '80s, and I when I was growing up there in the '70s pictures, like Godfather, Jaws, The
For
Exorcist,
sure.
Mhm.
Rocky. I still like them, but as time went on, I started to dig up on YouTube a lot of the older pictures of Clark Gable, and, so many John Barrymore, so many actors,
Hmm.
great actors. Uh, so I found the best for me. The best actors are probably in the 30s and 50s.
It's so funny you say that. We went to a friend of mine's house last night or night before, sometime this weekend, and somehow we got to talking about Peach, the original Peach Dragon. And I was telling them about how, the scene where they get up on the barrels and the barrels are rolling, and then you got what, Mickey Rooney and just all these people, and like during the time period you're talking about, like the Maureen O'Haras and things like this. It's like they all sang, they all danced, they all acted like they were for real performers.
Do it all.
They were like stage performers that just you put on film. It's like a whole different thing to what we have for the most part these days.
Right. And
It's impressive.
I think the main thing that sticks out with those actors for me would definitely have to be the
Hmm.
voice of the men and women of those times. It was just magic when you hear their voices.
For sure.
Ed Kemper, you know, Barbara Stanwyck. I mean, on and on, but yeah, those are the ones I love the most.
Without a doubt. What's your favorite one that you've watched recently? Like
Oh,
an older one, like something that we need to go back and see.
Robert Mitchum, John Wayne, and El Dorado.
Oh, that's
El
a good one.
Dorado.
Robert
El
Mitchum and
Dorado. Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
he's
We were just
What
talking
was the Clint Eastwood movie we just did? We just did an old Clint movie, didn't we?
Pale Rider. That's what I was going to say.
Hell
We were
Rider.
just talking about old westerns recently. We were talking about Pale Rider in the '80s being
right.
probably the last great western or a true western or something.
Uh-huh.
Even though we're big marks for Young Guns
Right.
2 and Tombstone and everything, but the Clint Eastwood Pale Rider, it just made it feel like an old western to you. just how the old westerns were. So
Right. There's a scene in El Dorado where Robert Mitchum comes into the bar and he's the drunk sheriff and he finally is gonna put his foot down against these bad guys. And because they laughed, he went in the bar before to get a drink, a bottle, and they laughed at him, called him drunk and all this stuff. And he just went back and so he felt like junk. So John Wayne gave him a talk and he ended up going back. And he was suffering from a stomach, the character, because he was an alcoholic. They gave him a weird drink that made his stomach in pain. So he was kind of in pain, right? So he goes into the bar and he's got this pain thing going. But you see, oh my God. I mean, actors, for me, actors today try to act tough.
mm-hmm.
But people like that, Robert Mitchum, they were tough. And,
For real.
And when he came, and you could just freaking see it. He's like, hey, Joe, you're playing the guy on the piano, you're playing awful lousy tunes there. You like to get off that piano? And he goes, I'd love to. Then get off. And he gets off. Boom, 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 boom.
That's funny. That's one of the things. Go ahead. I was going to say that was one of the things that we were saying about Clint Eastwood versus we had watched something else before. It was Right Turn Clyde, Any Which Way But Loose. And I was telling Every Which Way But Loose. I was telling Chris that the thing that got me about his like Dirty Harry and the Any Which Way But Loose movies and things like that was like I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him as being for some reason I just didn't believe him as being as tough a guy as he was portraying. But when I go back and watch a Clint Eastwood Western, I believe him. Like it's like you believe it for some reason. I don't know if it's his natural setting or what.
Right.
But like you said, yeah, those guys were tough. You were talking about the voices too, and I was just gonna throw out there before we lose it. One of my favorite scenes in any movie when I got old enough to kind of realize what was happening there and why it was funny was the Magnificent Seven, where you had Yul Brynner as a cowboy, and they were telling him everything that was wrong, and he just looks, he like holds the lady, and he goes, "I tell you what I'm gonna do." That does not sound country.
Was this in the 60s?
The Magnificent Seven. I believe so. I think it was the original. It had Steve McQueen and
Original.
Yeah, Yul Brynner, I think, was like the main leader of the Magnificent Seven, but his voice, being the accent to his voice, I thought that was hilarious. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, right, New York. He's from he's the Bronx cowboy.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
And one of my favorites too is Charles Bronson.
That's my dad's absolute favorite.
Are you a fan of the Death Wish movies or when he's more like his westerns?
I like anything from the 70s and before, or 75 and before. His TV work, whatever he's in. Man with a Camera, the TV show he was on for a while in the 60s, 50s. Just here's a guy that, as far as I know, because I saw the biographies, I hate it when people say, "You're wrong, it was this." I don't know. I'm just getting from the biography, right? We can't go to the family and find out. But that he didn't have any acting experience. He was an artist.
Wow.
He was on he would be in the studios drawing, and he found out how much actors make. He says, "Shit, I can do that." So he went out, tried it out. But I guess because he had a good build and these sharp looks or something, it's kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
He got rolled. But look how good he was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I watched the stuff he did in the 50s and 60s, but no experience. And Robert Mitchum, no experience, no acting.
got up there and did it. That is pretty amazing.
Just
He's
natural.
got one I saw. So I grew up watching him in the Death Wish stuff and like the
Uh-huh.
everyone always tries to tell me I think it's Hard Times, but I know it's not Hard Times, but the one where he was like in prison boxing or something. But there's an older one I saw of him after I got grown, and it's an older western-ish movie, but he was boxing in it. And
Right.
like you said, his looks, a lot of people, especially my age, I was born in 1980, so I got a little bit of the older stuff. It was spillover for me, that all those good times. But I remember seeing him when I think of Charles Bronson. I remember him from the Death Wish movies, and when I saw this old western, he was young, and that dude was stacked, man. He had some guns on him. He had a big old chest. I was like, dude, I had no idea that Charles Bronson was a monster. Like that
No.
dude he was stacked.
But the thing about Bronson that I liked was that he didn't have a muscles that you develop in the gym that most
Right.
people do. It wasn't like all puffy and all that kind of stuff. He had a body that looked like he got that naturally through hard work, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing a lot of that. You get that wagon thing, and then they would put the rocks, gold, whatever it was, coal. I think it was gold. I forgot what it was, but it was heavy, and they put it on there when he was younger, and they'd have to go a couple miles, right? So he's carrying it stuff back, back, forth, back. So he was doing that. So he did a lot of that, where it's like we get because
Like
he had
Conan on the grist mill.
yeah. So he had that kind of He-Man build that was just looks like a fighter's build,
Yeah,
not a bodybuilder. Looks like he can really do some damage.
for sure, for sure.
But
I don't.
fighting like the Last Dragon, it was fighting is nice for entertainment, and it's good for self-defense and sport. It's
Hmm.
good for sports, but fighting in life, uh, we will want to try to get away from that. And I think for me personally, it's it would be nice to see rather than people talking about who can beat up who, or I can take this person on, or I could, you know, talking about how about some of the damn the philosophy of martial arts that can help us in life, that can
Amen.
help us get away from the
Yes,
stress, help us get away from our own egos, not feed it, but help us get away.
yes.
And the funny thing is, Bruce Lee, who a lot of people talk about, either they love him or they hate him. Bruce Lee, I, although he was a fighter and he loved fighting us, all of the counts, uh, he'll be the first. He'll be the first to tell you, hey man, he goes, being a fighter, developing your body and you learning the moves and being a fighter. That's a good thing if you could be a good fighter, but it's nothing compared to being yourself. And what is
100%.
yourself? Be yourself. It says in the Bible, know thyself, right? And then they say, what is the last dragon saying? Look for the master. And in the end, it's you, right?
Right.
You're,
He was the whole time he was looking for himself, just to recognize himself as what he should be or what he was.
and so when you say be yourself, it has no form, no shape, no identification. It's not like, oh, I got it. Be an aerobics person, and you got all this stuff. Be kung fu, you got all that kung fu. Karate, you got the karate. Boxing, you got the boxing. But be yourself. Nobody has a book on it. Nobody can tell you. Only you know yourself. Only you can bring that out. That's kind of like the soul, rather than, hey, how's it going? All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Great. Nice weather. All right. Good to see you. Bye. It's nice to be nice. But if
Right.
that's all life is, where would we go?
100%.
Where would we go? So there has to be something where Bruce Lee had to cut the thing and say, look, you're doing it all wrong. He didn't have time to say, hey, how you doing? I love that, love that. And then an hour later, try it this way, right?
Mhm.
He didn't have time to say, you're doing it all wrong. What the hell are you talking about, boy?
Oh yeah.
You want to take him
That's
out? You want me to take him out, right? And he'd show them, this is the move. And he got it. He
yeah.
got it by
That's a talking about the philosophy. My dad was a Green Beret, and would back then they taught Shotokan, and he did some stuff, and what was it Shotokan and I forgot two other ones that he trained in, but he did competition a little bit, and he faced one of Bruce's students, which he kendo. But he always tried to instill those kind of philosophies in me as well. And one of my favorite things that Bruce ever said was his whole thing on be water. You just touched on it, where it's like, because water can flow or it can crash. It takes on the shape of whatever it's inside. Be like water. And then so like that to me is profound. And I also, so since you started that too, we also know and love your Bruce Lee impression as well.
Oh,
So and we've also like I said, going back and watching, seeing footage of you, like you and Ernie Reyes. We love Ernie Reyes too. You and Ernie doing the whole thing at the Comic-Con. But I was going to ask you if you wouldn't mind too, kind of you you just touched on it, but just kind of explain to us one time about, how, like you said, you when you were getting started, you kind of imitated those kind of heroes and people you look to up to, or people that you knew, and you had to go on a journey to find out who is Glenn. And you, like I said, you just touched on it. So I would like to know, like, an expansion on that, of what was the catalyst, or how did you find you, your, in acting or in life or anything, any capacity.
well, thank you for asking. I was imitating James Dean, Bruce Lee, you name it, Matt Dillon. I was trying to find some identity in myself. And although when I was with my friends and most of the time I was just being myself, but I didn't appreciate that. I didn't think I was that big of a deal. I thought Bruce Lee and these people were. So I was doing that. And then later on, this was when I was 29. I had left my girl and I had lived alone. And so being alone, I was just left with myself. I had nobody to work off of. So I was lost. I had no identity. Didn't know who. And I was interested because I was going all this time hanging out with friends, family, and then a girl. Um, Now that I'm alone, it's like, who am I? What am I? How do I think? How do I feel about things?
You kind
And
of really just kind of lost what do you do to make you happy? Yeah.
yeah,
It's kind of a,
I knew how to be the person that I thought they liked.
Mhm.
You know, cracking up or joking, whatever. But when I'm alone, I'm going, who am I? It was interesting.
It's
And
like it's always easier to be somebody else. It feels like.
Jim Carrey speaks in length on it.
I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
watching Nick Nolte and Rich Man, Poor Man.
Hmm.
And I was so excited to be him that I got a job at the theater down the street. And I was working as an usher, taking care of the popcorn, trash. I love to do anything because Nick Nolte had all that energy. So for 2 weeks, I was working there. I was imitating Nick Nolte. And yeah, hey, Glenn, yeah. So I immediately doing this thing. He's a good worker. I put my back into it.
He's a good worker.
Otherwise, I'd be exhausted and bored. But I pretend I was him, so I'd be walking around. I felt all that energy.
Mhm.
And after 2 weeks, I got tired of playing Nick Nolte. So all of a sudden, I was myself, and I was bored to death. And I quit the job. I couldn't take it.
Wow.
But that was uh, that was about a month before I got the Last Dragon.
Okay.
Did
What
you did
was there an aha moment or like a catalyst moment where you became comfortable? I think this is a very important thing, especially for people like you, who people like us look up to, and other people, or we may can introduce, or whoever we may reach to kind of help them in those moments as well too. Because with the mental health state
Yeah.
of our society, I think that especially coming from, like I said, people like you, that it's important to know that these people that we see on TV and movies have the same problems as a normal person.
Oh,
So I wonder if there was a aha moment for you, or did you just kind of grow into it, and then one day you were like, hey, I'm okay now, I see.
it's it's a gradual process because you get aha moments almost every day. I would get aha moments of, oh, that's it, and I thought I got it.
Hmm.
And the next day, yeah, it was pretty good. And then later on that day, oh, wait a minute, I think this is it,
I
and
do
this,
that, yeah.
Hmm.
and then it would go. Oh, it would happen once a week or once a month, and then I would work on it, and the next month. So this would go on for years, to I realized that it's just gradual awakenings, and so
Hmm.
that I can now work. It's like when you have an aha moment, it feels so good. But now, as the days go on, what's even better is now constantly remembering it, and so that you can apply it and you can work on it, right? So let's say one was I would have is let's say when I'm around people, I want to listen more. I want to observe them and listen more, rather than thinking about what I'm going to say and thrill them with whatever I say, right?
Hmm.
So I'm talking, okay, remember it now. So I'm in the midst of, I'm ready to blabber. It's like, okay, so what happened there? And then they go on and on and on. And I go, oh, and I realize it takes on a whole new route now. And I was going, this is interesting. So that's one of the things. And there's so many.
Hmm. Would you agree too, like you talking to a while ago as well, that even though you came into that maturity and you came into loving who Glen Eaton is, and knowing who Glen Eaton is, would you say also that martial arts and really beyond, many philosophies teach us too that, so we just spoke to, these words are great to hear to you for you, but I don't know if you have the moment to where you're going to turn around and say, I know exactly who I am. I feel like they teach us to keep growing, to keep learning, because like seasons, we change as well as we age and as certain things happen in our lives. So it's important to keep those disciplines and continue to grow.
Right, right. That's absolutely right. Is that like Bruce Lee said, it's all about it's constant growth. Life is about, and so it's never I'm here. I've done it. Then here we
Mhm.
go, keep going. So I think okay. Here's one thing I can say about what I've learned through this process of knowing myself is we're kind of taught to think in a three-dimensional way, right? Up, down. This is right. This is wrong. This is good. This is bad. Now, um, I've I've learned that knowing myself, actually, I know myself less now than I ever did in my life, because a self, like Bruce Lee said, you can't put it in a box. It's like water. What that means, I think, is that to adapt is that not to live your life in crystal perfection. Every little mistake that happens, you got to, I
Mhm.
don't make mistakes. Not to live like that. But if you stub your toe, God damn it, fuck. Now it's going away. See? And you go back to your business. Instead of don't don't react. Don't react. You know? But
Uh-huh.
go ahead. You know? If you're writing a script and you think you got it, and then you realize, you read it and go, you haven't got it. God, it. It's okay. It feels good to be miserable. It feels good to feel like, God, a failure. What do I do with this? I can't think of anything, because you you care. You want your song, your script, your performance, whatever it is, to be good. So it's okay, you know. Um, this is what I'm learning: is you can't get rid of your temper. You can't get rid of your sexual desires. You can't get rid of your ego. When somebody says, "Oh, I didn't care about his work," you can't help but feel like it doesn't feel good, right?
Right.
As opposed to if they say, "I like their work," it feels good. Even a master
Hmm.
would feel good if you said, "I like your stuff," and if you said, "I
Hmm.
don't like your stuff," it right. So we can't get rid of it. So accept it,
Right.
and I realize that I'm okay. I'm. I look back at my life, and every mistake I made was the best I could do at that time. Like all of us, the best I can do was up yours. That was the best I can do at that time.
Right.
Yeah. Same with Judy, right?
I love that. I love that. It's like the message. The message is like we try to instill in our children. Like, look, if you made a D or a C on your test, I don't care. Did you do your best? That's what I care about. Some people in this world are C students. You know what I mean? Like when I
Where,
tell my kids, like
where were
we
you when
can't
I
all
was
be
in
the best at
school?
everything, right?
Where were you? Where were you when I was? Because that didn't fly with my mom. All right, you
Oh, it
got a
didn't with mine
D.
either. Yeah, it didn't with mine either. But we've learned that as long as we promote that, as long as we promote the discipline and the discipline, the desire, and the drive to give it what everything you've got, even if you failed, in failure, you're still a winner because you gave it everything you had. It just may not be meant to be this way in this moment. And that's what I'm getting from Glenn right now. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. We just move on and go to the next stuff, man.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
love that. I love
yeah,
that.
Thank
no,
you.
that's
It's
good.
not.
That's some good stuff actually. And
It's
it.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not if you fall, but it's how you get back up.
100%.
And that's exactly what John Kennedy's father shows you what a good father he was. Uh, would tell him. John Kennedy made a mistake. And he told his father after the speech, he said, "Yeah, I think I flubbed that one." And he said, and his father just came back, but yeah, but how you came back was great.
It kind of reminds you of that speech from the Rocky Balboa movie. The last one he did, where
Oh
he's
yeah,
where he's telling his son, right, Travis? He's
Yeah, how
telling his
many times
son,
you get hit, it's how many times you get back up.
and I knew if I set you up for
Lose,
that.
was it? Yeah. Losers quitting. That ain't you.
It kind of reminds you of that, though. Really, I mean, what the way
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
describing it, I mean, and it's true. I mean, it has a lot of truth to it.
oh, it does. I mean, I have fallen so many times, whether it be from a bad joke, an opportunity, and I tried. But every time I tried, every time I tried, and it's like my old girlfriend would say, um, "I wanted to do this thing. I wanted to go in the acting class, and I wanted to do this other thing, but I was afraid of failure. I didn't want to get embarrassed. That
Right.
fear,
That's
yeah,
been me my entire life. I think I've always wanted to do certain things, but I would not put myself out on that limb out of fear of failing and looking bad in front of people. I
I
would
was,
always do that.
You can't give a shit what other people think, man.
I
I mean,
know.
Yeah.
there's certain situations where you have to make an impression and you have to speak a certain way. You have to carry yourself with a certain amount of couth.
Oh, here's
But at the same time, as far as like jumping out on the limb or being like fear, fear leads to failure. So you got to get rid of the fear. You just got to go.
That's right. And one of the things is that in my inner work, I would take sayings and I would try to find out what it means. And for that one of I don't care what the fuck people think. And I would think about it. It goes, for me, the real line is, because we do care. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But realize
Yeah.
if what they think makes you doubt yourself, makes you worry, anything negative, don't give a fuck what they think.
Right.
But if what they think is effective in some way that could help you, or is they're thinking things that help their family, they're thinking things that can help dogs and animals, and they're doing it. You care what they think. That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful what they're doing, right? But if somebody turns around and says, "You'll never make it," or "Your thing was lousy," and they won't give you a critical, a good critique about it that you can learn something from, you suck,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Then of course you gotta. That's when the tough skin comes in. You
Sure.
just go, "Oh, I don't give a fuck."
I
Robert
said I
Nixon.
was
Go
I was
ahead.
lost for a long time in philosophy. I grew up Southern Baptist, and my dad having all these things, and me being crazy into film and stuff like that. One of the things that I've held on throughout my life, people, growing up, people say, "Travis, life isn't a movie," and I'm like, "But it is." One of the things that I've held on through my life was when Conan's father was telling him that you can't trust anything in this world. He said, "But still, you can trust, because to break it down, still does what still does every single time." So I've been through, excuse me, Buddhism, the Tao of Pooh, Shintoism. Like I've studied, not studied in depth, but in a search for, like we talked about earlier, in a search for who I am.
That's what you
Um,
said. You're a jack of all trades.
there you go, there you go.
But
I broke it,
like he said earlier, though,
master of none,
master of
master of
none.
none. But what I kind of broke it down to is one of those epiphany moments, aha moments, was everything. If we go this route, we choose this as what we believe. Everything is made up of energy in some form.
Exactly.
Energy is made up. All atoms that we know that exist in whatever configuration that they're put in exist of three things: a positron, a neutron, and an electron. That's a positive charge, a negative charge, and a neutral charge. So to keep my mind from going crazy and breaking, I still get into the philosophy and stuff, but actually like trying to understand it and live by it, I kind of just broke it down to, well, if it's positive, I pull it close. If it's negative, I push it far. If I don't know, we'll let it hang out and see what it's going to do before we make a decision. That's
Yes.
kind of how I look at what's coming into my life, or what situation I'm in, or people, or anything. I look at them as those energies. Is this bringing positive or negative energy to me?
Yes. Right. Exactly. You're absolutely right.
Keeps it
Everything.
simple for my puny brain.
I was gonna say I want to know who this guy is with us tonight because I don't know this Travis. This is I don't know him.
Yeah, he's taking off the mask.
He
There you
is
go.
he is on his limb as we speak,
There we go.
not caring what we think.
Right.
That's
But
because I'm aspiring to be a great actor, Chris, and you are my audience.
uh,
Boo! No, no. Hey, I was wondering. You talked about writing that script for the movie we spoke of earlier, and slapstick, humor, martial arts, and stuff. And that's basically what your character was in Last Dragon. Was to me it was funny, and I really liked the thing about how you mastered the art of fighting without knowing how to fight. I used to quote that all the time because it was so funny to me.
I think
And
Johnny used what got you invested in the movie in the beginning, like because he was the
yeah,
energy. He was that, like, oh, this dude's hilarious.
right. And to play off of what you said, I've always told people, and I still do it to this day. And it's similar to, I guess, like a bad dad joke in a way. But I always tell people, they're like, well, do you know how to fight? And I'm like, look, I know Aikido, Taekwondo, and Nintendo. And if you're not careful, you're gonna get a Mike Tyson uppercut. I played Punch Out quite a few times. You know, definitely.
uh,
How much of yourself though do you see in the Johnny U character? I mean, talking about wanting to be the slapstick humor and things like that. I mean, how much of yourself did you put into it, or is that just a complete, like you said, you put something else out there as a totally different person, still not yourself, and not found yourself yet? I mean, is it comparable?
pretty much. Pretty much. It was my friend Brian my best friend at the time, I was imitating him because he was very outgoing, very energetic and outgoing. And I pretty much just did that. And not knowing how to fight and faking it was what I was doing. And I told Barry those stories one night, and about, three guys are gonna jump me, and I would pretend I was a fucking martial arts killer, and I could fake it, like you saw Johnny, your character, and so they'd always
I guess back before UFC, that was actually could be effective too. Like people would be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
they didn't know,
Yeah.
know. So I'd be. One time I was confronted. There was about five surfers, beach guys, at nighttime. They wanted to kick my friend's ass. Not my friend, but two guys who I knew, like acquaintances, and I saw that. So I went down. I said, "What's going on?" They were walking down to go see them, and I said, "What's going on, man?" And he said, "See those guys down there? We're gonna kick their ass," because they were calling us names. And I said, "Oh, let me go with you," So as we're getting closer, he's like, "Oh man, they're getting pretty big,"
They're growing.
Yeah. And I think I changed my mind. What do you think, buddy? And he said, "Yeah, let's go. And I said, "Oh, wait a minute. Let me show you something." I don't know where I got my kahungas, but I walked down there and I just go, "Excuse me." I said, "Yeah." I said, "You went to kick my friend's asses, weren't you?" They said, "I think so." And I said, "Well, let me just show you what you would have had to deal with. Can you come up here a minute?" The guy went like this, like that. And I said, "I want you to hold your hand as high as you can, right like this." He walked up to me, went like this. And I went, bam, and I kicked it real fast. Boom! I came back down. They all went, wow, man. That's what you would have had to deal with.
Look, that is hilarious. I think we all. I know I knew somebody. I'm Travis. I'm not sure if you did or not. We all know somebody from when we're younger
Right.
that pretended or made everybody think that they knew like martial arts or something. And there was this one kid. I remember his name, just simply his first name of Jay, and he wanted to make us believe that he was a red belt in karate. He didn't get his black belt yet because his mom moved away and they're trying to find a place to finish his studies. And we're in a small town in Tennessee. There's no place for him to make his studies anymore, right? So he would bring his red belt out. He would wear it in front of us all the time. His sister sold him out one day. She come out and she says, "Why are you wearing the belt to your bathrobe out here?" And we're like,
Well, I was going to point out too,
okay.
you had to at
Yeah.
least practice. You had to at least practice something though for somebody to hold their hand up and kick it. I used to get pretty high, and until I gained weight, until I wasn't a teenager anymore. But so
We got
did
older.
you right? And with you doing that and being in and doing like Train to Kill, and I'm not sure what you did in penitentiary, but it looks like you've done. You've had a couple of things where you were doing kind of the action type stuff.
Yeah.
Are you have? I mean, I saw you chucking a little bit on YouTube. Like you've done some things there, though, hadn't you? I mean, it wasn't all fake. I don't think, was it? Like
It's
you get to kick a man's hand that he's holding straight up in the air. That at least takes a little bit of practice.
what? Oh, I've done a lot of practice.
Okay, I thought so.
A lot of
So.
man. But
Yeah, so you're trained.
I wasn't practicing on real fights and breaking boards and breaking and sparring and what real fighters do.
Mm-hmm.
Practitioners. I was just kicking and punching the air.
Okay.
But I did a million kicks and a million.
Right.
my brother and I and my friends, we would go to the park and or anywhere, and we'd fake fight.
Hmm.
Fake fighting. That's how I learned all that stuff. Was
Oh wow.
bam, boom,
Kind of
I
like
think
wrestling, where you take a
I
shot, like
listen. I
you're
was gonna
selling it.
say, I think a lot of us did this when we were teenagers. We loved martial arts movies, and if you love martial arts movies, you wanted to impersonate it because you really
Hmm.
wanted to learn how to fight that way. So
yeah,
you would practice on your own what you could do. Could you throw this kick? Could you do a roundhouse kick? Could you do
right,
this? Could
right,
you do that? And you try
Well,
your
that's like
best, and you would mimic things, and you actually get some of it down pat.
yeah,
You could they say fake it till you make it, right? And you
mhm.
right.
could usually pull something off and make a believer out of one or two people. But when it come down to it, if you got in a fight, ain't nobody doing nothing but going to the ground and rolling around and punching each other.
Well,
Right.
I used to
Yeah.
have a nasty wheel kick. I used to have a nasty spinning wheel kick, and I started practicing. My dad showed it to me, but I started practicing it on a trampoline. And you
Right.
can catch mad air, so you got plenty of time to get your roundhouse or your wheel kicks or your inside crescents and stuff. You got time to get that off. So if you get so fast on it on the trampoline, you start transitioning it to the ground and shoot. Yeah, I look like I could do a lot more than I could really do, but off of those two kicks, like you were saying, I had a pretty good wheel kick and a pretty good jumping roundhouse.
Well, that's it. Then trampoline is great for the leg muscles.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's great too. But actually, what worked for me was boxing, not not martial arts. I started on my first sparring match. Uh, I went to my brother's friend's house, and his little brother was my age. So I guess I was about 14, and they had boxing gloves, and his little brother was pretty built. He was pretty strong looking. I was impressed. Like, damn, you're pretty built, you know. And so he put on the gloves, and I thought he was gonna kill me because he was strong looking for
Hmm.
14, man. So I go, okay, let's go. And we started, and I just went boom, bam, and I clipped him, and he thought he knows, and that was the end of the sparring match.
Man.
And then so I later on when I would train, I would spar, and I did okay, and I was imitating Duran and
Oh.
basically Roberto Duran because I'm his height and everything.
Hmm.
And so
Roberto was mean, boy.
oh, he was great. So I'd watch him against Leonard a million times, and
Hmm.
I'd go in front of the mirror and I'd start doing it. And so I'd go to the gym the next day and I'd be sparring. And I remember I was sparring. I wasn't. I don't think about imitating. I just do it in practice. But when I'm sparring, I'm just sparring. And I was sparring this dude, and the bell rang, and I went to the corner, and this little kid was standing there, and he goes, "Man, you look just like Duran out there." I'm like, "Oh, really?" Because I wasn't trying, but I guess it just when you keep practicing, it just natural.
Hmm.
But I love boxing. I would have became a boxer, but I love acting much more. So
Heck yeah.
It's less painful.
oh,
Yeah, we hadn't spent any time talking over it. We've been talking philosophy and doggone fighting, and
yeah,
well, that's what we said in the beginning. Though we kind of different. We just kind of like to have a hangout session and get to know
yeah.
you. We're more interested in you.
So shoot the breeze,
Yeah.
or just shooting the breeze.
So I know Chris, Last Dragon, he loves it. Do you got any in particular questions about Last Dragon that you had prepped or
You
anything?
know, nothing I really had prep because I've seen the movie so many times I could practically quote it. But the end fight um in the club, I guess it was the club that everything happened in and everything. Um, I remember Ernie Reyes. I'm trying to remember if this is Ernie Reyes' first movie as well, or if he had previously done Last Electric Night. I can't remember if that came after or before that. But do you remember him as a kid doing his fight sequences in the movie, and were you impressed with him and everything? I know his
Oh,
father was in it as well as one
oh,
of the stunt fighters in the background.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. What was it again?
Ernie Reyes Jr. When they were having the fight scene in the end, and you guys were in a lot of scenes together. It seemed like
Right.
because you were out there doing your bit where you're faking it out there, trying to scare them off, like what you're doing, and suddenly you connect with this big kick, and you're like, "Whoa, what's that?" And this happened between yours and his. Were you impressed with his fighting and everything that he had out there? I know his father was a part of it as well as one of the stunt fighters in the background. But I always liked Ernie Reyes Jr. and the way that he fought and everything. I got the chance to meet him last year in Knoxville at a
Uh,
Comic Con. They did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reunion. He was a part of that. But
doing
um,
his, he was doing his tour shows with his father. I heard,
mhm,
and they would do the martial art thing, you know. So they were doing that a lot, and so he had all that practice. And um, but I knew that uh, at that age, if children are taught, and if they love and want to do something, if they're taught, they can pick up so quick, you know. So yeah, I was impressed, but I wasn't surprised. No, it was like no, I can see
yeah.
with all that practice, of course he's going to be good.
Did you guys ever talk about doing anything else together other than the one you were in?
No.
No. I didn't know if you had a. I always wondered, if you ever had like an interest in doing Beyond. I never saw you in anything else like that again. So I didn't know if you ever had a real interest in being in that type of movie. Um, and of course, back then I didn't know whether you had martial arts training or not because we didn't have internet. We couldn't read up on people and learn about people and everything and such. And everything was well done as far as the choreography goes and everything. So
Well, that's what I was saying too about like when he said he kicked the guy's hand at the beach. It seemed it's almost a feeling that in order to do that and do that well, you would have to have trained in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't. Yeah, we figured you were another like where we're gonna see him in next. He's got to be awesome. He's got to be a black belt. He's like we thought that about everybody that was in the movies then.
But my only love of martial arts came from my love for Bruce Lee.
yeah.
Heck yeah,
Uh, so I was not a real martial artist, and
Mm.
I don't, I don't have that love.
right.
Um, but to me, it's like Bruce Lee was what I see of him in his sparring and demonstrations, his real stuff, his real speed and everything,
Hmm.
and the stories that those who knew him tell. Uh, he was just so damn good
Right.
that shame that you notice how many picture stills they got of Bruce Lee.
Hmm.
There's coming out every year, all these new every month, every week. There's new pictures since he died. There's been new pictures coming out constantly.
Right.
How many pictures have we gotten taken of us? Millions of this guy, constant pictures, right? So it's like, it's just to me, they had video cameras. Bruce Lee had a video camera, and he filmed his training with some people. But it's sad that he didn't have himself filmed
Hmm.
while he was sparring at his best, doing punches and on the bag or whatever at his best, punching the air as fast as he can, using his techniques, and even some fights if they happen to capture a fight. But him showing his best of what he knows.
Hmm.
But
Right.
now,
Yeah. And
now,
that kind of greatness, I would think, inspires people. You know what I mean? Like we find inspiration in all kinds of places. Whether it's excuse me, Lord, I can't get this frog out of my throat. But where you get a dog, you gain inspiration from so many different places. Like I mean, who knows, something like Taylor Swift lost all of her music and she ended up re-recording it all, so she didn't got it. But like that's inspired. That's boss stuff. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, that's kind of like okay. I don't want to sing. I don't want to dress like a lady. I don't. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's this. You know what I mean? But you would think that a 44-year-old man would sit here and say, yeah, I found inspiration in Taylor Swift. I don't necessarily have to, like you said, with the martial arts and all, your love is acting. And I know we're coming up on almost an hour. We don't want to keep you too awful long, but I was wondering that good old cliche question we got to ask, like, what was that moment where you knew you or thought you might want to be an actor or fell in love with it?
When I was 20 years old, and I saw a James Dean biography, First American Teenager, and I hadn't seen any of James Dean's movies, and I was watching that, and I was just uh, engulfed with the idea that he was practicing finding himself 24/7. And you can see it in the stills, the pictures. And as I was watching the biography, going, my God, his job was to be himself. So every day he was searching, and you can find himself. And that's when I said, boxing, I can get tired of the training. Singing, you get tired of singing. And anything, I'll go after a while, it's like, oh God, But acting, I would never get tired of being myself. So that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to always work on being myself. So acting is the mirror where you can now apply that in some form. And so from 20, that's when I said, okay, that's it, acting.
Heck yeah.
So I got a couple quick ones for you. Then one of them's Last Dragon, the other one's Bloody Hands. I've noticed in 2022 that you did. Uh, when it comes to Last Dragon, though, did you? I think I heard you say before that that role was created for you as being Johnny. But
Yeah.
did you consider trying it for a different part in the movie as well? Because with your humor, I could have easily seen you being one of the three guys from the Fortune Cookie Factory.
Well, that's what I was going to try out for.
Oh,
When I,
I see. That would have been great. That would have been because I could definitely see you in that. Is they
uh,
were the concept of it was so funny what they were doing, and
yeah,
I thought you do even your character Johnny. I would have thought could have lined up with him and fit right in
yeah, right.
and been hilarious.
But when I read the script, that's the role that I would have been casted in if I was. So I said, okay, that's one of the roles I'll get. All right. And then Barry said, no, let's try to write this character in Johnny U character. And I said, okay, but I was a little hesitant because I thought if I try out for one of those three guys, there's a good chance that I can get it. Uh, but if we go for this character that's not even in the script, one up down the road, it ends up not even being in the script.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It could get
So it's
cut. Yeah.
so I was afraid of that. I was going. What I didn't realize was I was talking with Barry Gordy, unlike anybody else I've ever talked with. If Barry Gordy wants to do it, it's going to happen. I
Right.
never met anybody who has that kind of power. So I wasn't used to it, and but yeah, that was the role I thought I was going to be cast in.
That would have been good. I'm curious about Bloody Hands, though. Can you tell us about that movie real quick? I see you played a detective in it. What was that movie about exactly? I have not seen that one.
Bloody hands.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's the last one I see listed for you.
That is a fake. That's probably a student film.
Is it?
What? Yeah, it's a fake. See, when I did this, my girlfriend was helping me out, and she said you got to write down more stuff. So that title was for Train to Kill. That was for the kung fu slapstick. It was called The Bloody Hands of Daryl.
No
Okay.
way. How did that get on IMDb? We usually trust IMDb.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that was years ago. Yeah, I mean, she wrote all this stuff to try to spice it up, but no, that was just. I'm not too sure what film that was, but
It's so funny. It's got here bloody hands, and they got
yeah.
you as detective. What I see it at Detective Peter. That's your
Oh, Peter Chan. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So that was part of the script too?
Well, it was a Peter Chan. I was gonna play Peter Chan, Charlie Chan's number two son, not number one son.
Oh,
Right? And Barry wanted me to do a script, an idea about that, so we can do a movie or a pilot show. And so at that time, I knew Frank Mazzola, who knew James Dean. He worked. He was in Rebel Without a Cause.
mhm.
He played Crunch, and he was the gang leader in Los Angeles. And so I knew him at the time we were hanging out, and he was in the picture in the Peter Chan thing I was doing. He played the bad guy, and I got all my friends, and we did a whole 35-minute show on Peter Chan, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good, but I lost it. It
wow.
was pretty good. And Barry tried to sell it, but it didn't work out. But
See, we've learned something today, Travis. We've learned that IMDb apparently is not the end all be all.
No, but knowing that about this accreditation makes it absolutely hilarious to me, and the fact that now being able to talk to Mr. Eaton here and it being hilarious to him too that was the name of his script. Oh, that's like a whole whoever did do that. That's like a whole special like inside joke thing. That's great.
yeah, no, I don't. One thing I don't like to do is I don't like to lie. I
Right.
don't like to lie. So I never would have done that, but she did it. And not saying it's bad. No, I she had good intentions, but I just can't lie, man. And
Hey, I feel you.
I
No,
can't lie. So
100%.
somebody, yeah. Uh, so, but I don't. It's kind of like if you lie. If I were to lie about something, when I tell the truth about something, that doesn't mean anything
Hmm.
because um, because I can't be trusted,
Right.
right? You can't, like the Indians say, if your word's no good, they cannot trust you, you
Right.
know, because their life could depend on it. And so, yeah, uh, when you brought that up, I was like, oh shit, how do I get out of this one? I ain't
Well, I
out
think
of
you handled it perfectly because I
That's
love the explanation for it. I think it's kind
that's
of like I said, whether or not it's with ill intent, I think it's hilarious that now we're in on like, it feels like an inside joke kind of, and now like it's like, hey, we're part of it. Makes us
okay.
feel special.
yeah.
Thank you for being so honest.
Probably the last.
Well, like Travis said, we're about on an hour here. We don't want to take up more of your time or anything. We do appreciate, Glenn, that you came on and talked with us. It was our pleasure, of course, and it was very nice of you to come on. I certainly appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Sure.
And and we want to also know if you got anything coming up, you got anything going on. Comic Con's coming up. You got a script in the works. Like what do you have going on? Give yourself a big old plug.
Oh, right now I don't have anything. I just moved
Mhm.
up here in Kansas from Mexico. I was with a comedy troupe in Mexico, and then I left that, so I'm here. And I've just been getting to know my family, and my niece has a little baby, so I'm getting to know the baby,
That's so special. That's awesome.
and I'm just training and exercising and still practicing. But right now, I'm just focusing on the family and my training.
That's awesome.
No,
You
if you
said with a
do,
comedy troupe, have you been doing stage? Have you been doing
Yeah,
stage?
yeah, I was doing.
Oh man, I love
Yeah,
stage.
that was fun. And I was writing some of the scenes. I was able to do one. I did Clark Gable,
Hmm.
which I liked, and I was able to do a bunch of silly stuff. I could write something silly and then say, "Sure, let's try it out." So it was it was nice to have that kind of creative freedom.
We miss out on so much of that out here on the East Coast.
But and Hollywood right now, it seems Hollywood. I mean, I don't know where that's going. It's
Oh
I
man,
don't think it's nowhere near what
it's a
it used to
mess.
be these days,
uh,
because these days you've got Amazon originals, you've got Netflix originals, you got Hulu originals, you've got HBO original things. It's not like it used to be when you waited for the summer blockbusters to come out, or
in my
things like
Right.
day,
that anymore.
when I was out there, man, they owned the place and they were the biggest. So they was so big. Every audition I went to, there was like packed with people
Hmm.
and uh, money. God, money was floating around like crazy, you know. But now it's just all that money, all that power is really reducing. And but I love what I see. Like Jason, I think her name is Justine Bateman.
Yeah, Family Ties.
Yeah, how she's coming out,
Hmm.
and so many people now are coming out, and they're while the big machine, the factory is going down, the power. These people are rising up,
Yeah,
and these people, as well as many others who we don't know, I feel this is going to be the new, not Hollywood, but the new entertainment business.
for
And
sure.
so we'll see what happens. But I think it's a great time. It's the eye before the storm.
Hmm.
So a lot
Hmm.
of things, politically, worldly, you name it, are are scrambling. It's all happening in the dark
Hmm.
because a seed can only grow in the dark. And so when it become exposed, that's when it's ready. And
Right.
so I think entertainment, like politics, educate, I think everything is rearranging, and it's going to start coming out, and we're just going to see. Hopefully, I think a lot of really incredible people and things that are going to put more new life into the business.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that, and the inclusion of some studios or some productions actually listening to the fans instead of saying we're going to do it this way. Like in particular, Sonic the Hedgehog, the original design for the CGI came out, and the fan base went bananas, and they changed it, and everybody loved it. So it looked like the video game. So, and those movies are enormous. And then you have Bob Iger over here not listening to anyone. John Favreau saved Star Wars, man, and then they took it back away from him, and well, that's how the fans feel anyway. Lots of us,
Right.
but yeah, I think listening to what the fan base wants, that's because that's your consumer body anyway. Like, why would you not listen to what the fans
Well,
want?
let's put it this way. Who's the real boss? Who's
People
the
Yeah,
buy the
real boss
tickets.
in entertainment? It's not the big shot with a cigar on top of the building. It's the kid buying a ticket, walking in there.
right,
That's the boss. The person turning it on the TV. And when you don't give a damn what they like, you're fired.
yeah, your product suffers for
You're
sure.
totally fired. They're your that's your money, man. That's the money, man. That's how you
Heck
make
yeah,
your money. The people. And people used to go to movies, and the filmmakers would blow them away. Now, the filmmakers got to ask the people, "What do you think?" And the people come back with better ideas than the filmmakers.
right, right, no doubt.
Right.
you know, so it's
Heck yeah,
they lost contact with the people,
no
and
doubt.
their egos went through the roof. That's all I can think about because if one is into their art and their work, then they're very much concerned about what the audience thinks.
Hey, if you will, before we go in a moment, can you let everybody know where they can find you online and everything? Are you on? I know You're on
I'm
Instagram for
on
sure.
Instagram. I'm on Glen. I'm on Instagram. Glen Eaton. Um, that's about it. I don't really do much.
Well, I wanted to
Hey,
say too
it's
before we go, congratulations on the slowdown and congratulations on being able to get back to family and the roots. And like I
Oh,
said,
thank
you
mm,
talk about how much self care that you've been paying attention to with yourself. And yeah, congratulations on that. A lot of us don't even find that
okay.
on a daily grind. I would
right.
say if you had one piece of advice, especially with what of intra reflective person that you seem to be, or have proven yourself to be, what's the one piece of advice at this moment in your journey? Because we all know you're growing now. We all stay growing. So what would your one like best piece of advice just overall for someone in their day-to-day life, you know, to keep going
Here's
or
my
whatever?
advice. Here's my advice: is that growth never stops. We're gonna keep growing till eternity. So, since that's the case for everybody watching and for everybody in the world, really, I would say you're perfect right now. You and you, everybody, everybody's perfect, and you guys are. Everybody is. So I just say, don't worry about it. You're perfect. Now, from the perfection, know this, that there's nothing you can't do. Anything you want to do, you can do it. So in other words, never stop and question yourself because you're going, I'm not ready. Am I good enough? Just know you're always good enough. You're always
Damn,
good enough. Go for it. And what
damn.
again? But what if I fall? Get back up and you learn how to get up. So see what I mean? So just I would tell everybody, love yourself, man. Right now, love it because man, you are. Everybody is, man. Everybody I've ever met in my life is just I love them. They're perfect.
I'm in a situation to where I think honestly, just 100% transparency, like across the board. I'm in a situation in my personal life right now to where I really think I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Oh,
Like
you're welcome.
seriously, for real. That
Welcome.
was that was amazing.
I said that because I don't mean nothing on ego. Like, oh,
Hmm.
I love everybody or everybody's great. It's
Yeah,
because the fact is that when I
yeah.
say I'm perfect, I'm perfect, then I know there's a lot of things I need to learn and I have to grow,
Hmm.
right? But the perfection simply means that don't be stuck to anything negative thinking you're not good.
That's it. You're good at that's the part of it. I think it kind of slung me back to uh, when we mentioned in the Bible earlier. If we follow that, but we also mentioned different spiritual paths. But if you follow the Christian path, I believe that you should trust enough that as a creation of God, or actually any God that you worship, you're His creation. So if they instilled that kind of power in you to begin with, if we heard the voice of God and our minds would liquefy, then you have so much power inside of you right now that you don't even like when you get down on your knees at night, pray for other people and just pray that you remember the strength that's already in you. That's why I say what you said was just kind of a reminder. Just a different way of saying the same thing.
It's the same
Just
thing. It's just like God, and you got many other names for God, Allah or whatever, right?
hmm
But they're all talking about the same incredible thing, whatever it
hmm
is, that is no words can describe. No words can possibly describe. So, but like you're talking about, it's like the law of one, the book, the law, everything is one. So when you
hmm
talk about the light, when we talk about love, when we talk about hugging your child, when we talk about hugging yourself, when we talk about get up from feeling like you're a losing piece of shit, just know that, hey, laugh at it. Laugh at it. I'm a losing piece of shit. Because now I can get, where can I go from here but up?
Man, motivational speaking is your next endeavor. I'm telling you, that's good.
E-
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Exactly.
A pleasure, and thank you both because you're able to instill me with some of your magic.
Oh well,
And
thank you so much.
Yeah,
you're,
thank you. We appreciate that.
you're welcome.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Glenn, for coming on tonight. We're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here, and uh, I tell you what, like he said, when we find that movie, we're gonna let you know. All
I'm
right.
watching that
Hey,
movie.
hey,
I'm
and
watching it.
if you happen to make it, I know you've been to a Comic Con or two. If you happen to go back to Comic Cons and make it down around this area, you let me know, and I'll make sure to make a trip to it. I go to the ones local here. I'm just outside of Nashville, so Nashville usually has a couple, Lexington, Kentucky, and Huntsville, Alabama, Knoxville, Tennessee, places like that. If you happen to make it this way, let me know and I'll make a trip.
Oh, right, I will. And my son lives in Nashville, so you're close to my son.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool. Did not
Yeah,
know that. That's cool.
yeah,
I'll
he
be
loves.
looking in Nashville when I'm around there. If I see someone, fake karateing people, I'll know that there he
There is
is.
gotta be him.
that's
Uh,
me.
There he is.
Thank you for
All
thank you
right.
for giving for this moment to just talk, and
Yeah.
I wish
Yes,
you both
sir.
the best.
All right. Well,
Same to
thanks.
you as well.
And to you, we're going to let you go, and thanks for being on again tonight. Once again,
You're welcome. You're
thank you.
Glen Eaton, everybody.
welcome. Au revoir.
All right. All right, Travis. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here and close
Yes,
the show
sir.
down. So, it
I
was a
very
great
much
interview.
enjoyed that.
I did as well. Very much so. Glad he was able to come on with us. We'll go ahead and wrap things up, and we let everybody know if this is the first time watching the show. As always, make sure you follow and subscribe to us and everything.
Like
We're
and
on
subscribe and
Spotify and
everything, and don't get
yeah.
too mad at Travis for going all philosophical with Glenn. Like, that was just a good conversation, man. We didn't talk about
Hey,
movies a whole lot, but
would we now for people who have seen our interviews before, they know what to expect. We don't just
yes,
dig into the movies; we dig into the person a little bit
we
too.
want to know the person. Yep.
Right, we get to know the person as well, and he was very good to get to know. I mean, it's a lot of things that's a lot of different than what I've seen in some of the other interviews with him. I thought,
Hmm.
and I was very much into it. I was just enjoying
So
listening to him
positive and
talk
full of
about stuff and
life, man.
everything.
Look, dude, he was like his positivity was like on through the charts, man. That was awesome.
Right, right. So, well, as usual, like you said, Spotify, iTunes, rank us, leave a good word on there, 5 stars, all that good stuff. We're on the website, retrolife, the number 4 letter u.com. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions or anything, you can reach us at retrolife4u at gmail.com as well. So, Travis, you know what? I'm just gonna ask you a question to end this week. I'm not gonna ask you if you got anything for us. I just want to know if you know why the bicycle was found laying down on its side.
Cause something about a kickstand, something about a
No, it
kick.
was no, it was too tired.
Too tired.